Okay, so hello to all of you, and thanks to be here. I'm Riccardo ROTA. I'm a technical consultant from EUROMED for the advanced planning solution of Dassault Systèmes. I tried the Turkish version before, but I don't think it will be good like Belgian, so I will do it in English. Okay, so as you can imagine, today we will try to understand together how we can optimize our maintenance service planning activities thanks to an advanced planning and scheduling solution. The roadmap that we thought for today would be more or less as follows. So we will have a first deep dive on the challenges, the typical challenges that we can have in this type of context. Then we will go through, let's say, understand how we can optimize the MRO activities based on the challenges that we will see. We also prepared a sort of a demo to show you a flow of some typical capabilities, some typical activities that can be found in the day of an MRO planner. And then we will close with a bit of recap, a bit of summary on the main benefits of implementing an APS solution in such a context. Okay, so basically what we did, we tried to collect different challenges, and we try to group them to understand what are, from a high-level point of view, the main ones that we may have in such a context. And the result is this one. So basically, first of all, when we try to optimize, when we try to plan and schedule our MRO activities, we need to, first of all, to balance, to optimize the balance between our loads and our capacities. Of course, in doing that, we also need to minimize all the waiting times, all the setup times, all the idle times that we may have in our operations. And we cannot fail to mention that it's also key to guarantee the right prioritization to the order and also, let's say, the date, the due date that we provided, that we promised to our customers. Of course, in doing that, we have to keep in mind that we will have a large amount of data to manage, and a lot of different resources with a lot of different constraints that will enter in the plan and that will create complexity. And here we have the first key point. So the fact that we cannot think to really optimize a plan, a schedule with a manual solution. Well, I can just cite one of our most common, let's say, is the most common competitor that we have, that is Excel. A lot of our customers have some Excel sheets, and they say, "Oh, yeah, I use it, I optimize." It's complex. It's quite complex. You really have complex operations, complex processes, and just think to use an Excel sheet to optimize something that is quite complex, it's a bit reductive. What we need is really an advanced planning solution, so a solution that is really able to optimize. And when we say optimize, we say to use an optimizer based on business KPIs. And of course, well, we have also a last one that is last but not least, and it's a challenge inside the challenges. This is the fact that normally we lack the visibility. Normally we lack the visibility, and we really need to increase the visibility to be able to face all the other challenges. Okay, so now we saw some of the main challenges together. Let's now try to understand how we can support the optimization, how we can face the challenges with an advanced planning solution, and what are the main things that we have to keep in mind. Of course, when we start to use this type of system, the first thing that we will do is really to develop, simulate, and optimize let's say a sequence of maintenance tasks. And this will really be key to anticipate all the potential issues that we may have in our operations. It's also key to cite that we will need to keep an eye on the spare parts management, because of course we can have the best plan, but then if we will not have the components to perform it, it will be nothing. Then, of course, we will be able to make some what-if simulation. So not just compare two different scenarios inside maybe just a sequence, but really having a list of business KPIs that we want to maximize or minimize, and that can be used as a comparison tool for our scenarios. Last but not least, we have to cite the fact that it's key, also another thing. When we normally implement this type of solution in our customer, the first things that we check is the presence of an execution system. Why? Because it's really key to have a prompt, to have a rapid feedback from the execution to be able to maximize the use of scheduling solution. Because when you have a prompt feedback from the execution, you are really able to catch the information almost in real time, dynamically, agilely replan, and pass back to your workshop the information. And this is key because in few minutes you can really avoid to stop a line, an entire line, due to just a small disruption that can be easily solved with a dynamic replanning. Let's now pass to the demo that we saw for today. So this is the storyline. And basically, we will start with a review, so an initial planning review. Then we will go through, of course, also some resources just to have really a flavor of let's say, the things that we can see in the solution. We will then receive some orders from our customer, and we will try to add them, to plan them inside an already overloaded plan, and try to see what are the different options that the system allows us. Then we will compare what is the after planning scenario with the initial planning scenario to check if we are still on track with our business KPIs. And then before closing and sending let's say the plan to our execution team, we will just make an analysis of our spare parts to be able maybe to anticipate some shortages, or just really to have a view on the components that we have to monitor. Okay, so now let's start with the demo, and I will guide you inside the use cases that we prepared. The first one is really a view on a typical interface that you have, and here you can see different work orders with information that you can easily configure. So we can really choose what we want to see in the screen. It's also easy to understand what are the ranges that we have to use for our production, and so what is the start date, what is the due date, and if we want to monitor them, we also can do the monitoring of KPI in the same screen. In this case, we just added a service rate, but of course it's something that we can configure, and we can add whatever we want. Then going ahead, we are just now seeing some of the resources that we have, and what we have in the center of the Gantt is really just the sequence of all the orders or operations that we planned or we scheduled on the resources. Of course, the system gives the opportunity to filter and to drill down into one group of resources or one specific resource to really understand what is the situation of the specific sequence, or maybe just to have an eye, to keep an eye on what is the situation in terms of overload or low load. And talking about that, another important thing, as you can see, of the solution is the fact that we have alerts thanks to the colors. Okay, so we can configure almost all the things that you see in the screen. We can, for example, in this case, we just selected to have an orange alert when we are more than 80% saturated already our capacity on the specific bucket. But of course, we can really have a different type of configuration that can be easily done also by the planner. So it's not something that have to be coded, or it's really something that can be modified and managed by the single planner, and that can lead to really configure in the best way the solution based on the needs that the planner may have. Then, let's say that before going to the order acceptance phase, we will just save this simulation to compare it with the one later. Now what we are seeing there is the same screen, same interface as before, but we have a news. We received some customer orders, and then we are gonna add them inside our plan. What you can see there, it's really a plan. And why it's green? Because we applied one of the color options that we have that tell us, okay, you know what? You are all on time with respect to the planned date, because we can manage different types of dates. We can manage the planned date, so the date that we planned inside the system. We can manage the customer due date, that can be maybe a week after the planned date, just to keep a sort of security time for us in case of some disruptions will happen. And we can also, let's say, understand what will be the real production date of the different orders and the different operations. In the lower part, we see that in this case we already have some overloaded resources, but nevertheless we will try to insert, and we will ask to the system to optimize the plan for us. So the system in really few seconds will be able to optimize our plan, inserting the new orders that you can see in the above part. But in this case, we maintained a bit of overload on one specific resource. This may happen because we have two main possibilities to manage our, let's say, from a strategic point of view, our plan. We can have an infinite capacity. So we can just say, okay, I have infinite capacity. I planned mainly based, or only based on the customer due date. So what I have to do do the things by the date requested by my customer. And then I can invest, I can make some evaluation and so on. Or, this is the most common case for the planning at least, it's a finite backward capacity planning. So basically, we consider the capacity of our resources as a constraint, and we will ask to the system to provide the best due date that we will then confirm to our customer based on the resources that we already have in our workshops. In this case, as you can see, we used an infinite capacity strategy, and basically we have a bucket on the week 19 with more than 100% of saturation. Then in this case, there are different things that we can do. In the specific case, we will see that we can manually operate. So the planner is always is always the leader of the planning. It's not that the system substitutes, but the system really supports and gives the planner the possibility to make the best plan, not a good one, but the best plan. But in any case, the planner will be the one that will decide and validate all the things that the system will propose. And in this case, for example, another important thing is the fact that we can really modify, and we can really, in a simple way, decide what are the constraints that we want to consider inside our plan. For example, in this case, we avoided to consider the secondary resources because maybe are not the best one, are not the best performing resources. But due to the fact that we want to maintain a date and we have not enough resources, we will flag this field, and asking the system to re-optimize, we will obtain then a best plan. What you can see there is the fact that we have immediately a visual answer from the system about the on time of the different orders, because before we had all the green ones. All the orders were green ones. Now we have some yellow ones, so it means that we have a few hours of delay with respect to the initial planned date. And this is also reported in a real time on the upper right part on our service rate that dropped a bit to 97%. After that, before going to the spare part analysis, is key to compare the current scenario, because we made some modifications, we modified also other KPIs, not only the service one, and so we can easily really have an eye on and compare what is the current scenario, the current simulation, and to compare with the initial one. We have different KPIs, and we can try to understand if we are still on track on the ones that we want to maximize, on the ones that are more important for us, or we have to review the plan based on the KPIs. Then, going out to the spare part analysis, as you can see here, we have different spare parts. Normally what we suggest is to keep the key ones. Okay, so maybe I don't need the small parts that I can buy also in a few weeks, but I want to monitor the situation for the components that can lead me to shortages and can lead me to disruptions in my production lines. So thanks to this system, I can really link the things. Okay, it's not is not the same thing that I can have basically on a typical ERP, for example, but I can really have a situation where I can see the shortage, I can click on the component and immediately see the orders that will be impacted by the specific shortage. And I can decide if it's something that I can manage or if I have to contact my procurement team, my sourcing team, or directly the supplier to check if we can do something to avoid the shortage. Now we reach the last steps. So we make a plan, we checked also our resources, we checked our components, and now we have really to make a last check before sending it to our execution team. Okay, so in this case we drill down in a single resource, in a schedule of a single resource, and what we can see is that we already have some feedback from execution registered on the specific resource. That is something that can be entered in the system through automatic integration with the execution layer. And then I did the last checks. I can or waiting for the integration or really, let's say, exporting maybe the single sequence to anticipate what can be the sequence on a specific resource to our people in the workshop and in the maintenance lines. Okay, so to close this breakout session, what are the benefits that we can have than implementing such a solution in a context like the MR1? So first of all, we will have an increased visibility on the current and the future plans. And this will be also permitted thanks to, as we said before, an optimizer able to work in a multi-resource context and driven by business KPI. Okay? Then, of course, thanks to a more precise plan, we will be able to increase the efficiency of our lines and, of course, to increase also the service rate that we can grant to our customers. And last but not least, we will also be able to have a better management of the unexpected events. So, as we said before and as we saw, if we have some disruptions, thanks to the connection with the execution layer, we can really catch the information almost in real time, react in few seconds or few minutes, and really give back to our execution layer an updated plan to avoid to stop the lines. And this is key because, as we know, it's something that will really lead to avoid, to save a lot of money when we avoid to stop a maintenance line. Okay, so anyone have some question or some points that maybe would like to deep dive or?